The adventure of sharing a drink with Matt. Today I am talking to suicide of Tantichrist. Let's do it.
Hey mate, how are you? Can you see me?
Not yet.
Okay.
And by the way, woman, 2 is new, so don't get the shits. Sorry, a friend's been commenting on my show all the time saying, why are you drinking VB? You're going to die early. Oh, how are you, mate?
Hey, mate, you all right?
So you're Mitch, are you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I can remember seeing you now.
Has Nikki
Diamond
joined you
Dogs.
as well?
Yeah,
I'm
there's
here.
a Nikki in the.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get both of you on the screen.
I can't.
Yeah, it should. I
Can you
can
guys
get up
see
to
my
usually 6 of you.
Yeah, you gotta click on the video, mate.
video?
Join
Yeah,
video.
right. I did.
Took me
I did.
ages to get into it. Took me ages to get used to this shit.
Mm.
Technology
Yeah, it should be on
sucks.
now. Oh, bloody hell.
I did heaps of it during lockdown.
Yeah, right. Through work and shit.
So I could hear you. It doesn't look like I can. Yeah, now I can hear you again, Nikki. But you can't get your video going?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Can you guys
It's
hear me?
going, yeah, it's going to a blank spot every time you talk instead of your picture.
It's the invisible man.
This, this has happened 3 times in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, no.
I've had one guy, the first one was the guy actually fucking wore a mask the whole time, so didn't get, yeah. And the other 2
There we go.
times, the guys had no picture.
Can you see me now?
Nah.
All right, something's happened here. I don't know what's going on. Video filters. All right,
Something's
no.
happening here.
What have you done, Nikki? Aren't you an AV guy, mate?
Yeah.
Oh no, sackable.
No, that's good. That's all right. I should be. I don't know. There's something blocking it. It's weird. It's just like it's I say.
Now your sound is off. Now
Yeah,
your
it's
sound
good now. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's just do audio because mine's. Yeah, I'm pressing on the link just to bring up the video, and it's just not doing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it hasn't got the option there. It's
I
an
know if
old
you
work
remember a
one.
band,
So
do you remember a band Space Juniors?
Space Juniors.
Yeah.
Yeah, Space Juniors are great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
I
interviewed
remember them.
2 of them last week.
Mm.
And
Yeah, awesome.
I interviewed Mono and Mick.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I know. I knew.
and-
Yeah, they're great. So I go.
Yeah, no, but Mono had no fucking he had no audio and he had no picture. So like I'm asking questions and he's typing me the answers.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God, what a head fuck. But yeah,
That's no good.
I understood he's got a phone with no camera, but come on, a phone with no audio. Yeah, we're supposed
here
to
we
be
go.
on up in. But no, he was great.
There
It
now.
was great, but
It's there
he answered the questions well. It
There we
was,
go. Now we can see Nikki.
There we go. It's all good. Yeah, the camera has
he's
been
got it.
blocked. I had to unsync it because it was off an old work email. That's why.
It's been
All right.
working
Yeah,
out. Okay.
I know Space Juniors. I like yeah, just I literally got a 7-inch one of theirs hanging in my bedroom. Chinatown. I love that band. It's a
Chinatown's
heavy
great,
heavy
yeah.
influence on me.
Mm,
Yeah.
definitely.
Chewing and all the 7-inch. Yeah.
That's how I found him. I said on a post or something, I said I posted one of their songs, and then I said the only time you can go to a gig and actually watch 30 songs in the one gig, because like most of their songs are like 40, 50 seconds. It's like boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. So you got to pack.
I think skating down the boulevard's about 2 minutes. Yeah, is about
and
30
that's
seconds.
one of the longest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when they left Australia, he put the band together in New York and got a new lineup. And actually his brother, one of the guys in the band, Roth, his brother Rene runs Global Vintage in Annandale.
Yep.
The guitar shop.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. And he actually produced the first Space Juniors record.
All right.
Rene Roth, yeah.
Do you know who when I talk about the Owen Guns?
Yeah, we know those guys.
I swear to God, man, I've been Space Juniors fan since they first started. And I've been an Owen Guns fan the last 18, 19 months, you know, and I've interviewed them and everything. And when I interviewed Mick and Mono the other night, I said, yeah, blah, 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 the Owen Guns. And because Mono couldn't speak or you couldn't see him, he typed in Martin Booker. And I'm thinking, who the fuck's that? And that's their guitarist from them. Yeah, the bass player from Owen Guns. He did all their artwork. He was in the band Raggadole, then, which I used to see a lot. Had no idea. Anyway, this is about you guys. Fucking hell. We're having a bit of a rant here. Thank you for coming. By the way, in my lounge room. So, where'd the name come from?
Sorry, say again.
Where'd the name come from?
Well, the name's a play on words, obviously. The name's a bit of a play on words. So obviously, Antichrist having a tanty, and you put those two words together, you got a bit of an idea for some songs in a band, because it's a very clever way of saying a certain thing in a satirical manner, which is what we've always been about, really. And our drummer that we had a jam with, I used to be in a band called Minds Are Controlled, and our drummer Tom, we were putting together the idea for that band had finished, Minds Are Controlled had finished, so we went to the studio to have a bit of a jam. Mitch, me, and Tom, and we had a jam. And Tommy's got a sharp tongue and a quick wit, and he kind of came up. We were having a discussion. He just said Tantichrist. So that sounds like a Tantichrist. And I was like, oh, we were in we almost fell over laughing. It was the funniest thing. He's always got a sharp tongue and a quick wit as Tom. So we thought let's hold that in the vault. This is about 3 years ago, maybe, when I think lockdown was sort of, when was this, Mitch? Just before or just during?
Yeah, it would have been about 2019, 2020. So 2019, I reckon. Yeah, it just sort of popped out, didn't it? And then we sort of like thought, oh, that's pretty funny, but then didn't really sort of think about it. But then I just felt like as time went on, like it really stuck in my head, and I kept thinking about it. And the way I see it, I think the good thing about it as well is it's like people sort of like interpret it different ways. I sort of think of it like, I'm not religious. I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but I'm not really religious at all. But I certainly know like certain Bible stories and stuff. And like the whole idea of the Antichrist has always been that like it's supposed to be like this real silver-tongued devil, that's like ultimately charming and sort of like pulls the wool over the eyes over the world. And I just thought like the ultimate irony of like these fuckheads that are like just destroying the world are not silver-tongued devils. They're fucking idiots. They're like fucking baby men, like ruining the world, like fucking having like your Trumps and your Elons and your fucking all these idiots, and they're so fucking stupid and just destroying the world through lowering the collective IQ of the planet.
No, definitely one. Yeah,
they've been propped up. They've been propped up by big business to spiel their shtick, and it's like we can kind of see through the bullshit, which we're trying to poke fun at the big man in the sky. It's always a good thing when you can mock religion. It's quite an easy thing to do because they set themselves up all the time. But it's also like if you can't, poke fun at certain things like that, then it's right for the picking. Really, it is like shooting fish in a barrel a little bit. But the songs that we've come up with are kind of based along a lot of satire and placing ourselves in the position of the protagonist of being a villain. So it's got that twist of like we talk about things in the first person, but also in the third person as well. And that's the twist around what we do in the Australia Super Alice band, the Dead Kennedys tribute act. We did that, and we're like, if we can, because the thing with that, if you can. The songs are of a certain time in that era when Ronald Reagan's around. But if you change the names out with Elon Musk or Donald Trump or anyone else, the message is still the same. It's still the same ridiculousness of what's happened to the world and what we're going through and what we put up with, and it's just
well, it's sort of it's like it's a different it's a different approach. Like a lot of the punk bands will sort of just come out straight out and say, oh, you know, this is shit and this is fucked and this person's a fuckhead and blah blah blah. And I think that's great. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But there was something that I always liked about bands like Dead Kennedys and some of those other bands where rather than doing that, they'll actually flip it around and they'll pretend to be that fuckhead, you know, like, and come from the, you know, sing songs from the point of view of the villain. It's like role playing all of these fucking idiots, you know, like.
It's so funny that actually you said that, because when you were talking, I was thinking, you've got the belief system like the Dead Kennedys had. And when I saw you guys play, it just fucking, I said to my wife, I said, this is like being at a Kennedys concert. Like, and Nicky, you got the guitar there, but you look like the guy that was singing.
Yeah, Nicky
the guy that was singing.
Yeah.
I am the singer. This is the guitar that all the riffs on. No, just kidding. This is just a spare that I have at the house. That's
okay. So you are the singer. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm the singer. Mitch is the guitarist. Yeah. I play bass. I play bass as well, but you know, like we all dabble in things that
that's right.
Yeah, help us get through the week. You know. But like Mitch was saying, it's like we want to flip the narrative, so to speak, and that's really important in the way we get our message across. Because like Mitch was saying, there's no point in saying this is bad, this is shit. With the Fuck or Fight single, it's like we're taking the first person, we are the villain. I'm singing about that. You know, thank fuck it's Friday. I'm going to get, you know, my brand new shirt on, slap on some Draco, a little bit of gel, and the hair won't hurt. I'm looking swole as my veins are pumping full of roids. Vodka and Rebels, they got me flying like an asteroid. Like it's set up to go, I'm the bad. I think people understand where we're coming from, and I think satire is important. Maybe Americans might not get the satire. We need to you need to drill satire into Americans. They don't quite get it, but for the most part, if you understand, you scratch the surface and there's a bit of depth, and you scratch the surface a bit more, and it's just like, oh yeah, people know where we're coming from. We're a three-dimensional act, and sometimes during the live shows, if things get a little bit out of kilter, sometimes, oh mate, what is this band on about? But it's always got to be. That's why it's important we put the lyrics in when we release things online. We've just done the Spotify release, and we put lyrics there so that people kind of know straight away. There's no doubt as to where we're coming from. And if they don't get it, I don't think we need to explain it to them. I think if you don't get it, you don't get it.
Yeah.
And
well,
it's not their loss, but you know.
But I think that's kind of part of the fun, actually, is if some people sort of like don't quite get it or don't take it the wrong way, and it can make them feel a bit uncomfortable. It's like, well, instantly they're actually thinking about what it is that we're saying. They're actually paying attention. So I think that's a good thing, because it means that you're not just kind of going, oh, okay, well, I know what the message is here because I've heard this message a million times, that it's all like, you know, perfectly packaged with, you know, what the right on the thinking and all that sort of stuff. It's like, it's actually sort of a bit more challenging, you know, in that way, and a bit more fun, a bit more kind of subversive and dangerous, you know, like. I like that.
And that's a word that we like to use, is satire, subversiveness. It's like a band that's like Black Flag and Fugazi. It's always got to be on the edge of almost falling apart. That's what the live shows. We work pretty hard in rehearsal.
Yep.
And we really nut it down and tighten the screws and get it. When we rehearse, we're in there working. You know, we're not the type of guys that pick up beers between. And you know, like we do have a studio that we all put in fridge, you know, like a 6-pack or whatever. But when we're there, I'll have a beer after we rehearse, like for 3 or 4 hours, and that's when I felt like I burnt the beer. So that's what the live shows are. Can be either they're structured in a way that makes it work for a performance. It's really a performance, and we're not just there to sort of play the songs. Yeah, we're not a party band, although there's elements of it that you can tell where we are sort of, you know, trying to get the party to happen. And we work that in with the live show. But in rehearsal, it's a pretty fun. But we're there to work, and Mitch is a good protagonist in that he whips us into shape. I've been mates with Mitch for 30 years, went to school together, so I know his shtick very well. And Yoshi's an amazing drummer, and Lee's just come into the band the last year, and he's amazing. So and that's why the rehearsals are really full on and practice and hard work. And the shows are like, don't worry about the shows. If you miss a note, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We're not a polished pop act.
That's always been our rule, isn't it? It's like it's not that much fun at rehearsal, so that when we go and play live, we can just have fun because we worked our asses off in the rehearsal room, you know.
That's it. Yeah.
And we really.
Oh, have you got?
We really all the bands that I've been in the room, and with this, it's kind of easy because I know Mitch so well, you know. Did I pop out there?
Yeah, you popped out.
Did I drop off? No.
Oh, don't press buttons. You'll come back. There he is.
He popped out. Sorry.
No, happens all the time.
But what we were saying before about the name and stuff, like a lot of the songs, I think, came from the name. It just seemed to be such a good little focal point. But it's like, it's not just about like political stuff. I mean, there's definitely like some of that in there, but there's also just like, you know, different kinds of people and stuff that you come across in the community. There's some bigger stuff. I mean, there's a few kind of things. We're working on an album at the moment. There's a few different themes going through. I mean, there's a bit of a running theme, isn't there, Nick, about like people kind of getting a bit left behind.
Yeah.
You know, people we've kind of lost along the way. There's a bit of a running theme.
Yeah, there's a song. There's a song that we play
as well, and it's like,
yeah.
I'll go ahead.
Sorry, mate. Oh, like you're saying, there's a running theme with things of like after image. That's a song about people who are no longer around, that we've known in the scene that have perhaps, you know, were big figures, big personalities, and they're not, that they've passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a big
and
list.
That's part and parcel.
And
yeah, and we all know, and in the scene we all know those people that have passed on. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the thing is with Nicky and I as well, it's like we've been doing this for like a long time. This particular band is new, but we've been doing this for like 20, 25 years, you know, playing in bands. You know, we're all, you know, early, you know, so, you know, one of the themes that's going through this album as well is just how much fucking Sydney has been shit on. Like, you know, like we're a Sydney band, and man, this city's just been fucking hammered. Like, you know, we had the fucking lockout laws, and just all of that shit going on. We just had like really bad problems with, you know, people moving into the inner west where all the venues were, and then complaining about the noise and all these venues getting shut down. And then we had COVID and all the lockdowns there, and you know, we got really hard hit with the lockdown laws. And I'm not saying that's like bad. I think that's what needed to happen to, you know, to sort of, you know, just clamp down on that shit and fucking end it as quickly as possible. But it did mean that there was a lot of vulnerable people that had already been getting like fucked over for like years and years and years. And just all of a sudden, you know, like completely isolated and left behind. And, you know, there's just been a lot of that shit going on for a long time, you know.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a theme that's kind of going on through that. You know, when you look at some of these characters that are in these songs, even this guy, you know, this character from Fuck or Fight, you know, it's like, in a way, like that guy's a symptom of like the shit that's been going on. It's like, you know, like
product.
You know, as much as like, you know, fuck those guys, you know, that go out and just like fucking try and hassle chicks that don't want to be hassled, and fucking try and get into fights because they can't get laid and whatever, and they try and blame everyone else for, instead of just handling their own shit. But they are also a symptom of a whole bunch of shit that's going on.
Oh, for sure. Like I'm down here in Wollongong, and we've got at the moment a heavy presence of the Hitler Youth.
Yeah, right.
A bunch of them just got arrested the other day on terrorist charges.
Wow.
Yeah, on terrorist charges.
Jeez.
And they got bail.
Jeez.
Wow.
You know, these Nazis.
So what were they doing?
I'm not quite sure. I'm just going off what I read on in the paper and on Facebook and that.
Mm.
Yeah. It just all it was mentioned was a
that's scary.
terrorist. Yeah.
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 But this is it, you know, like it's.
I wonder if that's code for something else. They can't officially release it.
But see, this just again, it ties into this shit that we're talking about as well,
Exactly.
because like
Yep.
all these, you know, young guys being fucking taught that they're victims and that they're getting a raw deal and that they fucking, you know, that they're entitled to something, that society fucking owes them something, and they're having a big
their
fucking
jobs are getting taken by other people. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
or whatever it is, you know, like whether it's jobs or fucking relationships or fucking, you know, all that shit, you know, like you know, the culture changing, you know, progress happening, you know, they're being fucking indoctrinated with this idea that, you know, everything's been taken away from them and that they're being taught to think that they're victims, and then they fucking want to lash out. They become Nazis, they become fucking, you know, roid rage fucking idiots, you know, like. It's just a shit situation, you know.
Yeah,
very agreed.
They're trying to find their sense of being in a world that's changed in the last 10 to 20 years, and they don't know where they fit in, so they go to the nearest thing that perhaps gave them something, or they latch on. I mean, Nazism. I mean, Jesus, that's dangerous. You know, that's scary. That's really scary stuff. You know,
well,
it
comes back to that thing that we've talked about as well. You know, you said it a couple of weeks ago at a show. It's like you got to be a bit wary of people that try and give you simple answers to complicated questions. You know, these guys like, you know, Trump and fucking, you know, even politicians in this country and stuff, they come out and they just go, oh, it's really simple. It's just this. That's the person you need to blame for all these problems. Yeah. And they give you like these simple little fucking, you know, sound bites and stuff like that. And the truth is, it's like, well, shit, maybe shit's a bit more complicated than you actually need to kind of think about it a bit, you know?
Yeah. For sure. Sure. All right. Let's get on a. What did your parents? What did they subject you to as a child around the house? What music did you grow up listening to?
I just remember will I ever finish? I don't know. My parents are educated, so they had the standard things: Cat Stevens, bit of Led Zepp, that crept in, bit of Jimi Hendrix, but it was always like America. It was always Tears for Fears. It was always the Traveling Wilburys. Actually, they loved that, so that was in the tape deck in the car. But you know, I'm the eldest of two, so I had to find all that stuff myself. I didn't get a hand down. I got maybe a little bit of. My mum was a really good singer, and my mum and dad are really good ballroom dancers. They won competitions and stuff back in their youth, but I don't know if that's a hindrance, but maybe it plays into something, but I don't quite know what. But it gave me the discipline to go. Parents were like, okay, we've got this. I remember taking there'd be days I'd take off school and just listen to Dad's, you know, Juicy Lucy records, or, you know, a bit of Led Zepp, just to go, fuck, what is Hendrix Electric, you know, what is this, like, and getting excited about it. Yeah. And then of course you like I was saying a bit earlier, you scratch the surface of what you're into, and you go, oh, there's a whole buzzing scene around in Sydney. Let's go a bit deeper, you know.
Yeah.
For me, so my dad was a musician. He was a drummer. But then for some reason, so I'm the same. I'm the oldest of three. So I also didn't sort of have hand-me-downs from older siblings. But yeah, my dad was a drummer. But for some reason, when he had me as the first kid, he just stopped listening to music around the house. But he had this big like crate of like this big sort of trunk of like records, and it was really eclectic. It was like fucking Isaac Hayes. He was really into Joe Cocker and a guy called Leon Russell, who's like a really great sort of piano player, singer, songwriter guy. I really liked him. I suppose the two records that were like really influential for me that I just sort of gravitated towards, because I literally would just like go in and pull out records and put them on, like there wasn't any sort of guidance there. And the two that grabbed me, the first one is probably for like the most obvious reason, which was Kiss Dynasty. So those four faces on the cover, like a 5-year-old kid just goes, "What the fuck is that?" And put it on. And so, I love that. As soon as I heard that hard rock guitar sound, it's like I love that sound straight away.
Yeah. The lead in "I Was Made for Loving You" fucking just was brilliant.
Yeah. And then the other one, which was hugely influential on me, was Jeff Wayne's "War of the Worlds."
Oh wow!
Oh, absolutely love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was like huge for me, and I just used to listen to that constantly. That was what got me into music, because I started pretty young, because I was driving my parents crazy, and they just said, "Oh, fuck, let's get him some lessons or something." And
yeah.
Besides that, though, like my mum used to listen to music all the time, but it was just AM radio, so it just grew up on all that 70s pop music, like all that stuff they're playing on AM radio, And later on, I sort of started to discover like my own music. I suppose first through like TV and radio, video hits and Rage and a bit of Triple M and stuff like that, and then
I think Rage was a big one for me for this. Just discovering.
For sure.
Definitely. When I was so going out in the town and coming back and going, oh, the stuff that mum and dad are listening to, that's literally child's play.
Well, having
I think I've graduated.
Those punk and metal specials they used to have on Rage on Saturday nights were just
exactly terrific. And like how was it watching on TV a Hard-Ons film clip?
Yeah,
like watching it on TV going, oh my god,
as well, like
yeah,
they used to play Radio Birdman. They'd always play heaps of Bones. Like,
they had this. I think it was a Friday night. They had these always, mate. It was just boom, metal, punk.
Yeah,
brilliant.
For sure. Yeah, that was a big turning point for me when I started sort of seeing those ones, like started getting into like heavier stuff. I actually got into like punk stuff later. I was like into metal first and then got into punk a bit later.
Yeah.
Sorry,
my daughter's just been a bit.
That's all right.
Is that?
No, she's fuck.
I wasn't sure if it was a kid or a puppy.
Yeah. The dog actually just came up to me then. Have you got a memorable gig? One that you just fucking was the best ever?
That Dapto one that we played with you was really awesome. The one that you were at.
Definitely.
That's what got me hooked to that one.
That one, we all walked away from that one going, I think that's the best show we've done so far.
Yeah.
Don't you reckon?
I was definitely hooked.
Yeah, it all seemed to just. Yeah, I think that we're out of Sydney. We're like, well, let's just play the songs and just see what happens, and everything fell into. I mean, it always kind of does fall into place, but sometimes it falls out of place, and that's fun too. There's memorable gigs. I mean, there's. Yeah, mate.
They've been going pretty well. You know what I thought might have happened at that Dapto show? I reckon Sean from Owen Guns had been bigging us up a bit. I got the feeling that we got there and there was a bunch of people that had come to check us out, and I was like, why would that be? Because we haven't got anything out, and we've never been here before. And I reckon it was Sean. I reckon Sean had been.
Oh, definitely. He would have grabbed a local band that will pull in the punters. Like Sean's an asset to the punk community.
Oh, no question.
He's a fucking asset, and I'm going to send him this little bit. Yeah,
he's a good man.
Definitely.
He's
actually
just
got one of these off him the other day.
Yeah, right.
And it's a hoodie.
That's right.
And we're really grateful for that. Cool. Yeah, that's a great design.
Yeah.
That Dapto one was really good. That was one of the first times that I think we all felt like, oh shit, it all, like, just everything works. Like the whole, we'd been feeling like we sort of we're happy with the songs and the order that we're playing them in and the sort of show we're putting on. That was the first time that we really felt like, shit, that just worked right from the start. From the second we started playing, everyone was into it, and then it just seemed to build and just work all the way through to the end. I think the launch the other night was probably. I think that was the first time that we've kind of gone, oh shit, that might have been just as good. Maybe
that was another big one. Yeah,
yeah, and that one
was because I was looking at the.
No, you go, Nicky.
Okay, so basically, we kind of just. Gee, there's a few things on tonight around Sydney. Like it's Guitar Wolf down the road. There's the launch. Fangs are doing their launch at the new venue, Lady Hampshire. All great bands. We're all mates with them, and we're just like, man, if we can kind of get some people, that's great. And we had Gutter Fire and the Glycerins and that. I think we'd put in enough sort of the hard yards over the past sort of 3 months, 2 months to kind of build a little bit of a reputation. And we kind of think about our live show, like we think about play on music and that kind of thing. And we structure it around the performance aspect, not just the songs. So I think that was a really good show just gone on a Friday night, a couple of nights ago. There's a couple of ones, I use props in the set, so we kind of can either make or break a set depending on, we played the venue the other week, and there was a skeleton that was cable tied to the ceiling, and I thought people in the crowd thought that I brought that as the prop, but it wasn't. It was part of the art install, and I ended up. Oh, wait, I'm a light fellow. And the whole thing just came down. I ended up dancing with it, this red skeleton and stuff. And they ended up really getting quite annoyed at us. And it was sort of the vibe of the evening turned a bit. And they were like, there's one guy, the bar staff guy with his arms crossed in front of me, just like staring me down, not shaking his head at me. And then it turned out that particular prop was used for the art gallery during the week as like, live drawing and stuff. So I had to kind of smooth things over with them, and they're fine with it now. But it was like the art classes where like by night it's a venue and by day it's art class. So I always want to use props for things, but I always sometimes either on the edge of chaos, like I was saying before, is great, but sometimes you don't want to piss people off and ruin the spaces, because the spaces are important. So sometimes the mark gets overstepped, and I'm always the first guy to sort of try and go, hey, sorry, what can I do to make this okay for you guys that are putting on a great venue? And
he does,
and because the spaces are important to have. I don't want to wreck it, but sometimes, a lot behind the scenes work of smoothing things over sometimes at the end of gigs.
What was that one, Nicky, where
I haven't learned my lesson. Mitch said to rehearse.
Go ahead. No, you go, Nick.
You were going to say something.
I was going to say, what was that one that we were playing?
No, I can't remember.
I can't remember. And you had it was like a cow skull or something, like you found, and all of a sudden it was over your fucking head, and you were like performing as the cow god. And
that was the old.
Where was that?
The room is now flipped at the Duke, so that was at the Duke.
Oh yeah, it was at the Duke.
So
yeah,
the Duke has got where all candles melted at the back of the room. There's a venue that's now changed where they have the stage at the other side of the wall, and they had the cow still mounted there, but I was using it as a prop. I was standing behind it. I was almost going to take it off the hook and use it, but I thought, I don't want to break another thing, like it's just take it easy, mate.
That's the thing at the Duke too. It's like every time we play there, it just seems to be like a whole bunch of ice and broken glass. It's not even us doing it. It's just it's the people fucking watching us. Like what can you do? Yeah, it's like
all of a sudden there was like the just gone on Friday. There was like this fine bits of, because where they have the rider, there was a black Jack Daniels box where the rider goes in, and normally that, like the past Duke shows we've done, that gets spilt out away. I empty it over someone's head, or I empty it over my head or something, and that scatters everything. It makes the floor really slippery. But I didn't do that show. But all of a sudden I'm looking down, and there's these tiny bits of like, they look like diamonds on the floor. And I was like, is the ice out again out of the box? And it was like someone had smashed a glass and the people were dancing around it. And then Christian, a mate of ours, was there, and he was yelling at me at the crowd. He was going, why aren't you down? Saying to my girlfriend, because she was regaling the tale. And she was like, Christian was hilarious the other night. He was saying to you, why aren't you down here rolling around the glass? Why aren't you down here? I was like, mate, I'm letting you guys take care of the glass tonight. I don't want a bar of it.
You've done that
it's-
like a few times as well. Fuck, the number of times like we've fucking, you
got
whip the
scars
shirt
all
off
over my-
after the show and
Yeah.
there's still cuts of blood and fucking shit all over you. Like, I'm glad I just get to stand back and play guitar. It's great.
Yeah, we did a show at that was a show. I've still got the scars on my belly from it. It took about 2 months to heal. And there was, I think it was the Hideaway, one of our first shows. Guys with pegging beers in my head.
All
I
right.
sort of just got the shits with it. I picked up an empty bottle and threw it at the wall, and it exploded right next to him.
That's all right.
And I sort of just cut the shit out after that. But the glass was everywhere, so I picked up the glass under my white shirt and started just moving it around, and it just opened up my belly. And there was I was wearing a white t-shirt, so it just came through straight away. And like my partner was like, "God, do you have a spare shirt you could just change out of and just not be a fucking freak?" And there was a guy there that was there to sort of go a book about like, "Yeah, you guys can play that next thing that we're booking in a month." Just yeah, okay. He was pretty happy with it, but it was like for me, I was like, another person and my partner was just like, do we need to get ice and cream in a hospital and stuff? But anyway, it's all. I mean, if you're not going to do it, then you may as well go and play golf or something. Because sometimes, nothing against golf, but I've got a golf hat on even. But it's like if you're not going to do it 100%, then you should just be a studio band. Like the live thing is so important for us and so important to deliver good music. And there's a ton of great new bands coming out of all the rural areas, regional areas, Sydney as well, Wollongong, of course. And we just want to, now that everything was locked down for so long, it's all back, So when we do live shows, it's like we just want to do it 100%. And we know, like people say to me, at the end of a show, they go, I was talking to you before, and you're like a normal person. I was like, well, I am a normal person, but. And they were shocked. I was talking to someone about cats and guinea pigs and bunnies, because we've got a bunny here, about how cute bunnies are and stuff. And they were just shocked to think, like, I saw you walking around before, and you were just like this nerdy kind of guy that's a bit, like you got your shirt tucked in and your stupid bolo on. But that show was something I'll never forget. So it's nice to kind of go that position of like, you got to deliver with the live show, otherwise you're a shitty indie rock band with a bad back and cardigans or something. It's like I think we pride ourselves on delivering.
Yeah.
Well, there seems to be something quite interesting going on with the music, with the crowds as well. It seems to be setting people off as well. I don't quite know what it is. It's a weird combination, because it's kind of like the songs are sort of catchy, but they're also really aggressive, and it's pretty fast. I think most bands that play as fast as we do are doing more of that kind of like real intense hardcore sort of stuff. And the vibe with that really intense hardcore stuff is like pretty down, it's all like really fucking dark and I'm just not really seeing a lot of other bands that are kind of doing this thing where it's like that fast and that intense, but it's also kind of funny and kind of wild. So it's this really weird combination that's just, I don't know, making people go a bit crazy. It's pretty
yeah. We had the other night we had someone say to us, "You guys are like Devo, the Dead Kennedys, but you've got this art rock vibe about you." And I was like, "Oh my God, I love that. Like, I love Wall of Voodoo. I love, I just love all Bauhaus, all that stuff. It's good to be compared, because everyone's got a different opinion about what we are. We know what we are. We're just surf punk.
But I find that too. Like I hear different shit
all
the time. I hear different. When we played that bookshop at DY the other night, and that real young guy with the little beanie kind of on. Did you see him that was sort of there with Mark, the owner and stuff? And he came up afterwards and he goes,
yeah.
Like your songs are like just really like, it's like opera or something. I was like, what? He's like, it's like classical music.
Yeah,
it's like, I suppose. Like,
around. Yeah.
So yeah,
classical on steroids.
Yeah, so I've heard lots and lots.
I'm purposely trying to sing. Like I'm I want to use my voice to sing. I don't want to. There's a few elements where I scream, but it's like I want to avoid. We were talking to when we were recording with Jay Wally from Friends Around the other week, just in the middle of an album, and he was like, I was sort of talking to him, and it was like, mate, I've been doing bands so long, I don't want to scream anymore. You know, I kind of want to use my voice and get a message out there, because the lyrics are so potent, and there's a lot of meaning behind them, and I think people need to hear them. So that's for me. I'm toning down the screaming, and I've got, you know, a few vocal effects off a little TC1 box that I'm using that I actually, Lauren from Loz from Neptune Power Federation, when we played with them at Mosh Pit, I was like, man, what's that vocoder she's using? Turns out it's just a vocal box, and I just picked one up exactly the same. And it's just helping. It's got a bit of it's an echo box with a bit of delay and a bit of slapback, you know, 50s Elvis slapback on, so you can manipulate what it's doing. But I don't do it too much because I still want it to come through. But you can make things echo and bounce around, and I think it's good to sing with your normal singing voice, because I'm trying to, you know, better myself in the singing department. So if you can, you know, have things as a bit of dimension, like I personally, guitars that are not distorted than guitars that are distorted. So we've got that mix of the guitars are crunchy, but they're not overly laden, so that it's not tuned to D and tuned to Z, so you can hardly hear what we're playing. You've got to be able to hear what we're playing, so that the melody of the song matches the vocal melody. That's important to us too. Mitch and I work out melodies, and we're pretty good at seeing who's singing the high bit, who's singing the low bit, and just, we can change it occasionally, but for the most part, we've natural, and the rest is kind of like, what are you doing there? You getting that right? Let's work that out. Like, you know, that kind of thing.
Funny, isn't it? It's like in some ways they're kind of like really demented pop songs. Like really it's like you get like a pop song and you put it in a garlic press and you just crunch the shit out of it through like some fucking surf punk hardcore. Yeah, take this nice little catchy song and just like give it like terrible lyrics and just play it way too fast, and
but it worked.
Yeah,
that's a constant thing, because I'll be like, that was played way too fast. We'll have a debrief or something. We'll go, because I'm sober when I play, so I kind of debrief after the show or whatever. So then I'll have one or two beers, or I'm a bit of a teetotaler, and it's like, was that too fast? That was way too fast. That bit was way too slow. And then you listen, like Lee, our bass player, has recorded it. Mitch has recorded it, and it's like, it's perfect. The speed is fine. Where am I at? I'm in the twilight time zone. You know, it's just like, it's weird what your adrenaline can do to you if you're not.
Your sense of time.
Adrenaline's up, or your adrenaline's down, or you've been drinking, or you play the show. You know, I don't have the constitution for drugs or alcohol much, so I'm just like, the adrenaline that I get, the serotonin release that's my driving force. So I gauge everything off that, and sometimes it's really out of whack, and sometimes it's right on, but for most times out of whack.
I'd actually like to chat with you and Ronnie. I'd like to chat with you and Ronnie from Left Hearts, because you're like a fucking mirror image, I tell you. But that guy spends all day cutting keys. You know, he gets all day cutting keys, and then at night time he's half fucking naked.
Yeah, he's a good man. We brought them up to Sydney. They played with us when we did that Uberfest a couple of years ago. Oh, great! Yeah,
Uberfest. Wow. Yeah. Excellent. So
Uberfest is a thing where we also go. Yep, you're right.
Who, me?
Yeah, what were you going to say?
I'll keep interrupting you. Yeah.
Have you got a favourite venue that you like playing at?
I think the Duke has been a favourite of late, but venue that has carpet, the stage isn't too high, is a good venue, because what happens is the carpet absorbs the sound, and it doesn't sound so freaking tinny, and the carpet absorbs anything I might fall on. So
it
absorbs you.
Like if it's the sharp,
it smells of beer.
Edges, well, I always stink of beer after I play. Poured it all over myself or something. But I don't know. I mean, the Magpie Bowling Club is a winner as well. That's kind of we did a lot of Australia Super Ala shows there.
Definitely, yeah.
And we've done about 3 or 4 with Tantichrist. So that's for us is a favourite because Richard Ball, who's the soundy there, loves us. And we just think it's a home away. It's like our local, really, apart from the Duke
and it's just
and
a
other
phenomenal
places.
sound man. He's got an awesome PA in there.
Yeah.
He knows how to run it. He's really good to work with. Look, that's one thing that is really good is like as much as like I was saying before, like a lot of the theme that's been running through this album has been like how shit things have been, or how much damage has been done to sort of the culture of Sydney and stuff like that. In a lot of ways, I actually feel pretty positive at the moment because there's been Marrickville Bowler's been going strong. This new venue's just opened up in Camperdown called the Lady Hampshire, which I haven't been to yet, but I've heard is just absolutely phenomenal. There's been this one of the biggest problems in Sydney has been that there's been no good medium-sized venues. So you got like a bunch of like little hole-in-the-walls, like little small venues and stuff starting out bands. That's like awesome. And then just a whole fucking like lack of medium-sized venues because you had venues like, the Phoenician Club, the Annandale, like a lot of these venues like shutting down and not much.
Petersham.
And then you got that like the Factory and the Enmores and stuff like that, but there was
Trade Union.
Middle there. Yeah, Trade Union, exactly. I mean, a lot of these things we're talking about, we're showing our age. They're quite a bit older, but it has been a long time since there's been that kind of like middle-sized venue, and now it's like there's 3 really. There's kind of like. There's the Lady Hampshire, there's the Marrickville Bowling Club, and then you kind of got like, I suppose going up a bit from that, you've got the Factory as well. They're starting to do like, but they're starting to do some more medium-sized shows as well. There's a bit going on at the moment.
Excellent.
As well as
good. I mean, we just love the
as well.
Yeah, that's the thing that I sort of kept my ear to the ground. I just in sort of February we put together a motorcycle show with a mate, and Mitch helped me out with that. But I booked a bunch of bands for it, and I like to go around and see what's up and coming at the Enmore. Billy from Research Reactor Corp books the Enmore Hotel now, the small pub, and you have to just. I mean, there's a bunch of great bands that are just killing it at the moment. Itchy in the Nets, GT. There's just so much good stuff out there, and Melbourne bands coming into the Enmore Hotel and going, what is this place? I saw Geld there the other week, and the singer was staged over off the pool table into the crowd, and it was hilarious. It was amazing. It was like the place was heaving, and that was maybe a month ago. So people who say things are dire in Sydney, they're always the people that never go out and see the shows. They're always the people that go, back in my day, this and this. We got to stop that shit. That's just ridiculous. The scene is as good as it's ever been, if not better. It's as good as Melbourne.
Fuck, mate.
You've just got to put a bit more effort in to find where it is, and just go and take a chance on some stuff that you might not. That's the big difference. It's not on the radio. It's not in the fucking street press. It's just all word of mouth. But there's so much shit going on at the moment. It's cool.
But do you agree that the late 70s and the 80s were phenomenal? It was the fucking best in the late 70s, 80s.
Yeah,
of course.
And the 90s. Punk started fucking really going the wrong way. Aussie punk.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that is to do with other forms of entertainment rising. I think it's like DVDs. I think it's like cable TV, Foxtel, stuff like that. I think it's video games. I think it's like home entertainment systems improving. I don't think it's so much to do with like bands and stuff like that. I think it's just in the 70s and 80s, you had 3 channels on TV, and if you didn't like what was on, like, what are you going to fucking do on a Saturday night? You're going to go up to the local pub, and and enough people were doing that the pubs could afford to pay all of the band's guarantees, because they knew that no matter who was on, or if it was a decent band on, the place would absolutely fill up with like 1,000 people.
And back then, back then bands had their own venues.
Absolutely.
Like Radio Birdman, they had their own fucking venue.
Yeah. What was their venue?
See, I'm not going to remember the name.
Do you mean as in they owned it, or is it they pretty much had like a permanent residence?
No, they owned it.
Oh, they actually owned it. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
As
oh wow, okay.
Pretty much as I can remember, they owned it. Well, you see what I did a book review with Mick Blood.
Oh yeah.
Lime Spiders, which was insane because this was just after his meltdown,
right?
And like he still had the interview is not. I shouldn't even be talking about the interview is not coming out. It's just
okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, but back to that subject, like. I don't know. Yeah, the 90s were fucked, but there was so much going on in the 70s and the 80s.
For sure. I mean, but we sort of, Nick and I both sort of got into starting play shows in the 90s and stuff. So we haven't really we're not old enough to really know what it was like to play in bands in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, but yeah, so I can't really, I mean, I thought it was better in the 90s than it was in the 2000s. I thought it kind of got worse in the 2000s, actually. The 90s wasn't too bad. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't as good as the 80s, but I think for me, I quite liked it. But then in the 2000s, early 2000s, it kind of took a bit of a dip as far as I was concerned.
Well, that's what I meant. It was like the mid 90s till the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Punk rock was fucked. And punk rock now in Australia, the scene's just fucking an asset, mate. It's just grown back to the way it was.
Yeah. Well, also it's really inspiring as well to like see like a bunch of these bands like just kicking ass and even like getting overseas. Like Amyl and the Sniffers just went all around the States and Europe with fucking Coffin. Private Function are like absolutely killing it. The Chats are killing it. There's like all these bands like, and even in Australia,
really
like, there's all these bands just like, you know, playing playing big shows, playing big crowds and stuff. Not even necessarily having to get like heaps of radio play. It's like everyone's sort of doing it on their own terms. I reckon there's heaps of awesome shit going on at the moment. It's very exciting. It's a good time to be
really Mitch, just when we played at the Duke on the Friday night, there was the band called The Unknowns, which is a couple of the guys from the Chats. They played in the
Route 66
and Leroy run called Route 66, and we just watched them play in front of 80 people just before, and to see something at the Enmore that was happening that Billy had booked. You know, it was just mate, this is the heyday right now, and there's a lot of young kids in the 20s and mid 20s that come up. This is their time, so we really see that, and we back it, and we go, man, this is a great time to be playing shows because, like Mitch was saying, it wasn't always this good. You know, in the 2000s, there was a bit of a lull. Everyone got into EDM, and that's nothing wrong with that, but it was a shit time for live music.
Yeah,
the lockouts destroyed a lot of things, but you just have to look around in any scene. It's just Friday night.
Well, that's what I'm saying with the 80s and Australian punk. How do you? Sorry, mate. I just had a fucking thought, and it just like
I fucking do it all the time. I get ready to fucking have a big fucking like monologue, and then I go, now fucking what was I about to say? And
then Well. It was because Rick told us, he said something and it just fucking clicked in me. And then I listened to the rest of what he had to say and it was like, oh, fuck, what was that bit? I was just...
Stop listening to me. Don't listen to me, mate.
It was just, it was like in the 80s, bands looked after each other. You didn't sit there and argue because there was nothing to do on a Friday night. You argued because what band are you going to go see Friday night? You know what I mean?
Who are you going to see? I mean, I used to. I'm a bit of a motorcycle fiend, so I got a few motorcycles back in the day, and I still do it. I still do it now. I go. I say, okay, what if we're not playing a show, there's 3 things on. If I ride my motorbike to, yeah, nice. It's in the lounge room. I love it. It's good. We'll talk bikes later, but I'll get on my bike and I'll go on the back, and I've got an old RD 350, and it's just like, let's go to Enmore tonight. Let's then go to the factory. Got a small show there. Let's kick on to the Enmore. And I'm not much of a party guy, but I like to sort of, I remember that was a thing back in the day. You'd be able to go to, you pay $5 for a show, and shows are free. Some of them are free nowadays. And, you know, you just pick what you want to see. But sometimes the times clash, you know, it's like, geez, we can't make that because it's all we're playing as well. Or like we played on the Friday, and then on the Saturday, we played at, obviously Halfback Books in DY with the Darrens. But on the Saturday night in Sydney, there was, you know, heaps of stuff down. Girl were playing, Ravens were playing. Jimmy's band Low Jets were playing.
They had that Waylong Festival, didn't they?
Yeah, the Waylong Festival, the Will's birthday, that was on it. I think Mothership Music or something like that. And it was, you know, for $20 there was 7 kick-ass bands. You know, it's great. It's just so much.
Like, let me explain what my situation was over like the last 10 years, right? So I pretty much kept playing all the way through to the late 90s, all the way through the 2000s, up until about 2014. And then that band sort of came to a bit of an end, and it wasn't like the best sort of like situation, like personally within the band. And I just went, and I'd been like just pushing shit uphill for like, you know, such a long time since the mid 90s. And it just felt like it had just been getting worse and worse and worse. And I just went, fucking, I've had enough of this. Like, and I said, I'm just going to have a break. And I just had a kid as well. So I just went, you know what, I'm going to take a break. I haven't had a break since I was like 15 years old. I'm going to have a break. And I'll take like 6 months off. And then all of a sudden I fucking went, oh shit, what's the time? It's been like fucking 5 years. And Nicky's gone like, hey man, do you want to come and like do this like Dead Kennedys, like, you know, tribute thing? And I went, oh, fuck, you know, that's easy. Or just, you know, like I don't have to like worry about writing songs or anything like that. There's no pressure. So it'd just be a bit of fun. We go and do it. But what happened was, as we started doing that, we started playing all these little fucking like warehouse gigs and laneways and like street and all this sort of stuff that was just starting to sort of bubble up. This is like 2018, right, Nicky? So isn't that crazy now that 2018 was like 5 years ago? It feels like it was like a year ago, right? But that's what it was. It was like, it was 2018. And all of a sudden I realized, like, there's all this shit going on. It's just, you just don't know about it unless you kind of know someone that you can't just go to the venues that you kind of know about. It's like, you've got to know someone that'll kind of go, hey, this gig's on, and, you know, it's word of mouth and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you're in some fucking laneway down in the back of Marrickville. And
Newtown did their laneways brilliantly.
Yeah. Or a little house party or something like that. And so that was like really exciting. And I just went, you know, I just started going out all the time and just got in mates with like heaps of these guys, and just started going out to shows all the time. And then what has happened now in that 5 years is that all that shit that was kind of like bubbling away, like in the total underground, has just started to kind of build and build and build. It's starting to fill all the venues. And now there's more venues starting to pop up, and these medium sized, it's like it's totally grown out of the underground. You know, and
that's what's important. That's what's important. Yeah, these bands that are massive now, they didn't come from nowhere. They came from the underground, and that's what our song, you know, "Kids of the Lane" is about. Song about seeing Royal Headache in a laneway. It's about the Marrickville Steel Lane shows. It's about little house shows that are part of the community that we all support and love, and it's just like it comes from somewhere, but it's small, and then it just, because it's so passionate. The community.
Can I just explain about that one, Nicky? Yeah. Like with that song, it's kind of a 2-part song, right? Because it's like the first half of that song is all about like everything getting shut down. You know, like whether, you know, there's those.
Are you there, Nick?
Yeah, I'm here.
Like, you know, noise complaints and all that shit. You know, there was all this stuff about everything getting shut down, the city getting shut down, the lockout laws, everyone getting pushed over to the casino, and King's Cross getting decimated, all that shit, right? So it was all about the city just getting fucking clamped down and just locked down and fucking, fuck you, Sydney, fuck you, putting their foot on it and just like trying to stamp it out, right? That's the first half of the song. But then the second half of the song is like, well, what happened? Everything went underground. Everything went to laneway gigs and house parties and warehouses and stuff like that. And that's the second half of the song. It's like, you know, we are the kids of the lane. We're the filth and the debris. We are the kids of the lane. Weeds in concrete, you know, like little cracks in concrete, you know, like all this scene is just grown out of the cracks, you know, like.
I saw this video on YouTube. It was this guy got gutter mouth on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
He must have gone up after a gig or something. I don't fucking know. But he got gutter mouth to play to his mates and whoever else came in his garage. They had the garage open. They had gutter mouth playing, and they had fucking his whole front yard was just full of fucking everybody having fun, drinking piss. You know what I mean? And Guttermouth was saying, "Thank you so much for having us." You know, blah, blah, blah.
Loved it.
You know,
They would have loved it, wouldn't they?
like if you had the Veronicas do something like that, they'd say, "Oh, you've just got to spend $100 on prawns and give us a couple of bottles of $100,000 on prawns." You know what I mean?
I mean, the Veronicas, fine, but fucking Powderfinger would be exactly the fucking same.
Oh, for sure, for sure. 100%. Hey,
so
I just got to ask, if you had the opportunity to put a bill together, what would be the 5 bands that you'd put on that bill?
Funny you should mention that, because we are putting a bill. It's called Oktoberfest. And it's happening in Oktoberfest, and it's happening October 7th at the Marrickville Bowling Club.
Excellent.
Putting some kick-ass Sydney bands together. And that's the start, the Reformation, not the Reformation, but Australis Uberalis, the Dead Kennedys tribute band. We're going to be playing. That's our return show after a couple of years of being away.
Excellent.
So we've got, Mitch, do you want to run through some of the bands we've got? Should we mention them?
We're still working on it, to be honest. I don't want to actually sort of say until we've kind of got bands locked in. There's a bunch of bands that we've been talking to, and there's a few that are like pretty interested in stuff, but we've got to work it out because it's like.
Are these local bands to you?
Yeah.
And where are you from?
We're Inner West.
Sydney.
Yeah. Sydney Inner West.
So you probably got bands like Rust and Crash and the Carpenters and Top Noble and shit.
Yeah, well, Top Noble are Wollongong, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Look, some of the local bands that we really like at the moment are bands like, obviously we really like Coffin. We like
No, I was talking about, did you have those bands on the bill?
No, we don't have those guys on the bill. No. But
you got me thinking now.
Yeah. But we'll come back with that. We're going to be announcing that before too long.
Yeah.
So
That's the announcement. That's to be announced. We've come up with some ideas in our heads, but that's what are you talking about? An era of Australian rock that you like, or just in general the new bands?
Mad.
Well, look, I would say some of the bands that I would check out at the moment would be like, I really like Crankies. So that's a couple of the guys from Hostile Objects. I've got a new band called Crankies with Rodney Todd on vocals. Those guys are really good. Down Girl are really good, sort of all-female kind of punk rock band.
I fucking love it, man.
They're awesome,
Down
aren't
Girl,
they?
Like you listen to music on Spotify and then they'll chuck in songs that they think you might like. Down Girl has come up a few times.
Playlist,
Fucking every time that song, one of their songs come up, it's like these guys rock. These are the
I want to get Owen Guns up to Sydney again as well. They're always really good fun. They just put on such a good show. They're awesome.
Do. Sure. He's just an amazing frontman. That's all it is.
Also, Fox from Neptune Power Federation has got this sort of soap.
He's got a new band called Sick Fizz. So they're really good. Sick Fizz are great. That's Fiona Wally, Jason's sister in that band, and Graham, her partner in the band. And they've just sort of, I mean, they know how to run a band too. They've just come out of the blocks and they're just releasing 7 inches and they're doing tours and it's great stuff.
Jay's
Young
not
girl
pushing them.
No. They're their own entity. Fox is pretty got his finger on the pulse with knowing how to run a band.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they great. They've only been around for about 2 months. They're really good. Down Girl's really good. Operation Ibis are amazing. We're about to play with them on Saturday the 22nd at the Lincoln Pin in Woy Woy. That's part of their record launch. This coming Saturday 22nd. So we're about to play that show with them with another band called Whispering Jackie, which are local to the Woy Woy area. They're great, yeah. They've sort of come back after a bit of hiatus. And yeah, Sarah and Nate, they're a great power couple.
Wow.
And
I interviewed the
drummer.
Glycerines in 2 weeks.
They're great. We played with them on Friday. Amazing Brisbane band. They were this great power pop Ramones. Just one song, bang, 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 bang. They didn't let up. It was really good. They're a great band. We love playing with them. Yeah, and they've just done a big tour with Gutterfire too. I think they've just done. They're about to. I think they're halfway through a 20-date tour or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah. I think Mitch has disappeared.
That way about hard working in this genre is you can't just rap a song and get $1 million. Yeah. Well, I heard you guys get 0.0005 of a cent just if someone listens to one of your songs on Spotify.
I think Spotify is a game that's set up just to get your music out there. It's not really based on any monetary reward. Maybe, GT are pretty massive and they're a sort of a local garage rock band. They've got 3 million views. So that's like $3,000, so that's, but that pays for some recordings or,
Exactly.
But for the rest of us, it's the only band that are making any money are Amel and the Sniffers, and they're buying houses. So that's a different kind of ball game, I think. So Spotify for us is like it's a vehicle to get music to be heard to people. There's nothing anything else, And so if there was a whole thing a little while ago about Spotify, it's bad, but I mean, you're going to see.
At least, like you said, now I think about it, at least people are hearing your shit.
That's right. We want it to be heard on all the platforms because that's how do people listen to music these days? Well, they buy vinyl. People still buy vinyl. I never stopped buying vinyl.
Only if they know the band. Yeah. I've never bought a vinyl album that I've never heard.
Yeah. So you got to, that's the thing. If you find Bandcamp are good because straight away a band can put together a playlist and you can hear a bunch of stuff. You listen all day, you listen for an hour and hear 20 things, 50 things that are great. There's a band called Snooper that I've been really liking at the moment. They just did a South by Southwest tour. They're American, but they did a South by Southwest set up. Civic, who I booked for the Albury Rumble run. They're amazing. Their latest record is Killer. That's another band that's just a cross between Radio Birdman, a bit of Midnight Oil, a bit of the Saints as well. Like they're just one of our favorite bands at the moment is Civic. They're so good. So good. I can't stop listening to that song Trick of the Light that they sing is incredible. That's a great song.
Do you do covers?
Yeah, we do covers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do covers. We play the Damned's Neat Neat Neat, so we do that.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Some
people we play. It was funny. A couple of So we play 90s stuff. So we played Goofy's Concern, the Butthole Surfers track. We played that the other night. We have about 4 or 5 songs that we rotate around the set, but Neat 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 by the Damned is the one that kind of stays in the set. Like we'll probably drop it for coming up soon, but it's such a killer song, and people say, "Oh, you guys play that really well," and some people go, "It's just and they're coming out to Australia, and they're still, the thing with the Damned is they don't get the respect that they deserve, even though they're still massive. They're the only band that have kept doing it since day one. They never split up. It's the original lineup, apart from Captain Sensible switching.
Yeah, that was crazy.
They're a legacy act, but they're also, they're still releasing new songs,
Yeah. The Cure.
So with the hard-ons, they never stop. They're never ones for resting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but the Cure, in my opinion, are doing the same thing. Like, they haven't changed one little bit. I saw a tribute thing the other night, and he's still got the same hair, still wearing makeup, getting up there and just, I've actually got a footage that was given to me years ago with Susie Sue on vocals.
Awesome. Yep.
Sid Vicious on drums.
Yep. Someone listening might know who that is, and if you put this out on YouTube, they'll probably be able to just know straight away.
Trying to think. The bass guitarist. Fucking, I can't think of his name. The guy from the Cure. Fucking.
Simon.
No, he actually the singer.
Right, Robert Smith.
Yeah, Robert Smith. I can't even. That just took fucking ages to get into my head. But I've got this little bit of footage of those three.
Oh, right. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I don't know who was on the guitar. I'm not quite sure about that. But it was Sid on drums, Susie on vocals, and fucking Robert Smith on bass. It was
awesome. Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, cool.
Actually, I think it was a guy out of the Velvet Underground was on guitar.
Oh, John Cale.
Yes.
Yeah, John Cale. Yeah, cool.
It wasn't Lou Reed.
I think Mitch has left us.
I think he has.
I think Mitch has left us.
Yeah, I think so too. I've been quiet so you guys can talk.
No, we
went boring.
No.
Do you have children?
A bit.
Do you have kids? I've lost your hearing.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, no, I got it back. Yeah, I got it back.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so no children. Would you let your children listen to your music if you did have them?
Yeah, you got to, that's the thing. I've got friends that have kids in there that they sort of go, oh yeah, well, put something on in the background. If they bop around to it, that's usually a good sign. I mean, my parents always, encouraged me to listen to music. They kind of gave me free reign over most things, and look what happened, right? So it can be a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, my 13-year-old daughter.
For the most part, I mean, like.
You go.
Oh yeah.
No, you go.
No, you were saying your 13-year-old daughter.
My 13-year-old.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I was agreeing with you.
No, my 13-year-old daughter, she loves the music that I listen to, kind of thing. Plus, she'll listen to what all the other kids are listening to, blah, blah, blah. But she loves the music I'm listening to. But my wife said I had fucking the movie Suburbia on the other night, and my daughter came in and Vandals were singing Take It Down. And she goes, don't you dare play that for her. No, she's only fucking 13. Don't play that in front of her, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting at the dinner table the next day, and she's got on the TV these R&B stars going, yeah, suck it, bitch. I'm going to fuck you up the ass. I'm thinking, you're telling me to not fucking let her listen to this shit, and here's this bloke singing about drugs and rooting. Like, fuck.
Yeah. Well, Vandals had that album hit Live Fast or Live Fast Diarrhea. That's pretty,
great album.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there
you said it, mate. You can't stop them.
No, that's right. Not at all. And oh no, you get to that later. Do you guys were you given, well, you now obviously by yourself, given advice when you started playing music by older members of the scene?
The only thing I've sort of been listening to with advice of late is growing up, and it's still to this day, is just, if you really love something, you just do it. There's no other way. If you're into it, you're into it. I don't find I'm mainly a bass player, so I love playing bass. I'll pick up a guitar. a bass guitar. There's like, you know, a couple of basses there.
Yep.
Sitting. It's my partner's bass. Between us, we've got about 10 basses. So, you know, I just play all the time and noodle and come up with riffs, and Mitch goes like that. I think the best advice I've ever gotten was probably, I think, just my dad going, just, you know, if you love something, you'll never work a day in your life, you know, and that goes for, you know, work, but it goes for music as well. You know, it'll never feel like hard work. And there's been times, obviously, when we do it does get you know, like music is hard work in Australia because everything is a cottage industry, you know. But you know, if you're doing it for the right reasons, if you do it for love, you know, and the accolades or whatever, you know, may or may not come later. That doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah, no, 100% true. Have you got advice that you'd give an up and coming band?
I don't really think anyone. I mean, there's a young band called the Pocket Watch that I think they've played American Bowling Club. They're young kids. I mean, I recently was working with a fella, Adrian, who's in a band called Social Strangers, and his music is very much indie rock. So we'll probably never play shows together. But my advice to him was just like, mate, if you're recording music at home, just record as much stuff as you can. And he's got all sorts of gear and stuff. And that's what he did in the lockdown. He wrote 80 songs, and some of them are shit and some of them are great, you know. So, and they've got a single coming out soon that's really good. I think it's actually out at the same time that we released ours. But the advice is just, I mean, you don't need to give advice to people. You see them play shows and you know that they're into it. Maybe the only advice would be just make sure you get your social set up properly, and maybe you can make a little bit of money off t-shirt sales. You know, like, cars don't cost nothing to run. So it's like, you kind of got to go, well, strategize it so that the band always pays for something. You never pay for something out of your own pocket. You set it up so the band pays you, be it $50, $100, $1,000. You know, me and Mitch have sat down and structured it so that you know, if you're talking about advice, it's like, just don't get ripped off. You know, make sure you get paid by the venues. Just anything, you know, something, you know. Also be aware that there's, you know, venues that can take advantage of you, and there's also recognize when someone's put hard work in and go, maybe you take our cut, mate. You know, another band's come in from interstate, and our $100 or $150 or $200 or whatever it is, $500, we'll give it, you know, we'll give it to you guys for petrol money or something, you know.
Definitely.
So that's just being, that's not even advice, that's just common sense, you know. I think if you're a good enough person, because there's a lot of good people in the scene that know what they're doing, and they pay that back, you know, pay it forward, sort of thing, you know. Like, that's the only thing I've learned about it. Is just be a good person, be a nice person, and rock the fuck out and have fun, and try to make it so that your band has a bit of money coming in occasionally. There's nothing wrong with that, you know.
Definitely. Sorry about all the me not talking. It's just I've been having a really mad time listening to what you have to say. So yeah,
Oh, you're right.
Sorry about the little breaks in there. Anyway, so we can get this out on YouTube and people don't want a sit-in 2-hour interview. Thank you so much for being on the show, mate. And
thanks heaps for thinking of us. Yeah.
Oh, mate, as soon as I saw you that night at Diamond Dogs, I was fucking stoked. It was great. It was great.
Thank you so much. We'll be down again. So you know, we'll be playing Dapto pretty soon, I think, with the Operation Ibis tour. And we're just stoked to be playing shows. And thanks heaps for coming out and supporting the band. And you know, the most important thing is just experiencing live rock and roll, live music is a part of the culture, and that's really important to keep it going. You know, there's a bunch of great bands that are around that are the young up and comers, and people like us that have been doing it for a long time, but we're young at heart, and everyone should be. I often jokingly say everyone should be in a band, and everyone should just do it. Be it good or bad, it doesn't matter. But there's obviously, you know, there's people shouldn't do bands to do it. It doesn't matter. I think it's important that Australian culture is represented in our Australian love of rock and roll. It's always been, bands like Space Juniors, bands like Radio Burma and the Hard-Ons are all massive overseas.
Yeah.
But it's cottage industry in Australia. It's small time, The Saints was the first band before anyone released a 7-inch.
Yeah, before the Sex.
Before Sex Pistols, Yeah.
And then
that's important, That's important history.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you, mate. I really appreciate it. When you're going into the recording studio, love to be able to do a an album review.
Yeah, we've got. Well, we've already recorded most of it. It's going to be out. We're dipping in and out of the studio, so it'll be probably out at the end of the year, and then we'll release some vinyl with that and some other stuff as well. But the main thing at the moment is just to get the stuff done and then get it out because we want our music to be heard and it's important.
For sure.
And also just go and see a new band. Like the advice for listeners, on YouTube is just a band that you haven't seen before. Don't see the same thing that you've seen 20 times. Go out and see a brand new thing that's got catching a bit of a buzz at a new venue or an old venue.
Yeah.
And celebrate Australian rock and roll because it's a bastion of good times.
Yes, 100%. Definitely. Nah, really, fuck, man. Blessed to have you guys. Tonight was the most probably informative interview I've done so far. And I think
great.
You guys are 63. And like I've been in the punk scene since I was very young, since 83. And
wow.
Yeah, you've talked, like the way you've brought things up and explained stuff, it was wow. Fucking thank you so much. So much appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Appreciate his input. And if one day you can get the whole band together, we'll do another interview.
Yeah, we should probably all sit in a room together and just all of us on one camera. That'd probably work a bit better. Yeah, man, we're keen to do that. That'd be lovely. Thanks for having us, mate. Appreciate
Definitely. And can you send me a link to your merch page? Because I like to get a shirt off every band I interview. So yeah.
I think we can do that. That's fine, mate. We can do that for sure.
Good. This page that we're on.
Yeah, I'll do.
Excellent,
all right,
man.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Be sure he's loud.